that we are real and this is live, and so we're human beings just like
This
y'all.
is
We
live.
bleed.
We have real noses, and every once in a while,
We bleed our own
it
blood.
happens to you.
So
We
yeah.
we bleed our own blood.
So yeah.
So are you ready to get into this OVA goodness?
I think
My good
so.
sir.
I think I am. I'm pulling up the notes now. Yeah. So do you want to do this so basically, or how we want to do this?
Do you have a good landing page for us for the?
Oh, I might. Let me see.
I'll just
because
do it over that.
Yeah, let me. Actually, I don't know that I do. I don't know that I do, but I will find something. So
I can run it right here.
Here we go. I got it.
Okay.
I got you. So yeah, let me TV. No, you're gonna have to go because no. I found it. Sorry, we're all over the place again.
You are just shaking me left and right, brother. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just gonna stay here like this.
Yeah.
And just wait.
I forgot that I had the hookups because when you have multiple video game systems, you got to unplug the HDMI and do that for the TVs. When we do the news segment, I have to unplug all the cables and then plug them back in. You're still doing that thing, and so here we go. I got all the cables plugged back in. So here we go. We're going to the TV and
okay.
1,
we warm
2,
the TV up.
3. Here we go.
Yep.
There we go.
Mutant Turtles Superman Legend OVA. It is legendary.
It is.
So this so just a little by way of background here before we get into the main episode 1. I'll be tackling this is only consisted of 2 episodes. I'll be tackling episode 1. Eric will be tackling episode 2. And this OVA, which stands for original video animation, if you guys aren't familiar, were straight to home video animations. They were not shown in theaters or on TV. And OVAs, from my understanding, were kind of cool ways to test something. It was almost like if you couldn't really get airtime on TV or whatever, you just want to make a special interest kind of thing. You kind of did an OVA, put it out. If it sells well, maybe we'll make a cartoon out of it. Maybe we'll whatever. It's a bit of a way to get a kind of a backdoor pilot, especially in that era, right?
Oh yeah.
So this OVA was made to obviously support the Playmates toys line, as all good TMNT cartoons were made to do in this era. This was released May 21st of 1996, and was produced by B Media and Tsuburaya. Tsuburaya, but I'm saying that right. Productions. And yeah, so the first episode is entitled "The Crisis of the Super Turtles." The Saint appears, and those are exclamation points, ladies and gentlemen. So you're supposed to say it as "The Crisis of the Super Turtles." The Saint appears. You know what I'm saying? It's going to get really intense.
Exactly.
The mic. And yeah, this was based off of the Playmates Super Mutants line. Okay. Notable thing about this, this OVA features the original voice cast that dubbed the entirety of the original 1987 animated series in Japan.
Yeah.
So people, kids in Japan that were watching the 87 animated series dubbed, they were listening to the same people, which I know it's kind of cool that we got a big kick whenever the original voice cast appeared in all those weird little Department of the Interior save our national landmarks videos, but it's actually the voice cast of 87. We're like, oh, that's really cool, right? That's really cool. So I imagine that it was kind of a really cool thing here where you're like, oh man, this is kind of legit because this is the same voice acting I heard throughout the entirety of what is about to be the end of the original 87 animated series.
Right.
Each episode runs 25 minutes long, and this is very standard. I think that the animated series, the original series episodes run closer to 22, so a little longer. And the art style is remarkably different.
Yeah.
Even though Murakami Wolf Swenson is involved, the artists are 100% different. We're going to be covering these 2 episodes and then touching a little bit on the soundtrack at the end, just talking a little bit. We'll throw some facts out about it. But I think we should probably open this review up by saying basically the way it starts out is we get a so basically about what is effectively something that we've already covered. If you go back to our episodes about the Mutant Turtle Mutastone comics,
Yes.
the
manga.
manga we read, If you go back into that, that definitely gets you hyped up for this. If you haven't done that so far, I will definitely drop some small. So basically here.
Yeah.
So we basically learn that the turtles have come across these mutastones and a fairy named Krys-Mu. Now, what's notable is that Krys-Mu is spelled different in the captions on this video. It's spelled Crys apostrophe mu,
Mhm.
whereas in the comics it was spelled Kris, Chris.
Mm.
So this is a weird small detail, but I
Yeah,
noticed
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So Krys-Mu is a small fairy, and she is the defender of the mutastone. She the stones are kind of drawn to the turtles, and they get the mutastones. This allows them to basically transform, pull a little Henshin action,
Henshin. Yep.
and turn them into the
The
Supermen legends. I mean, like,
yeah.
they have different names every single time, you know.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
Super Turtles also tends to be a name, and I think it's the name I go with in my notes.
Mhm.
They can go Super Turtle, but there's some rules. Which I really liked. And these rules are covered in that original manga, so you definitely got to go back and check those
Yeah.
out when we covered them because they were pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
So, one big rule that you figure out damn fast is that you can only mutate for 3 minutes. That's a real
Right.
thing.
That's it.
And the whole time that's happening, Krys-Mu is she's really sweet. She's a really sweet little fairy, and she's getting like drained of her like life energy every single time
Mhm.
the turtles are mutating. They get into the comics a lot more on that in the comics, and there she
Right.
is. There's sweet little Krys-Mu.
Yep.
Never wished anything bad to happen to her. You know what I'm
No.
saying? And she is very brave and strong, and she's trying to help the turtles mutate because turns out Shredder, Krang, Bebop, Rocksteady, they all get a hold of another mutastone. They don't go to it into it super deep here, but it winds up being like the mutastone of like revenge or something. Like all the
Yeah.
mutastones are said like to basically be like an element of like one emotion or one quality. The
Mm.
turtles have the ones of courage, and this
Right.
is the one of like revenge or some shit. So of
Yeah.
course, we get things like Dark Devil Shredder. Well, sorry,
Yes.
just Devil Shredder. We're
Devil
going to talk about
Shredder.
Dark Devil Shredder in a minute.
We'll get to him.
We get Devil Shredder. And Bebop and Rocksteady, you don't really get cool names, but they do transform here.
They
And
do.
I wanted to note, when we see this happen later, it's actually really cool to see their mutated forms, which are very accurate to the manga, which
Mhm.
is awesome.
Oh yeah.
Good to see them in color. It's just
Oh
cool to see them in
definitely.
color. The
It
manga
is.
is black and white, and I'm a big fan of them in color. And that's basically the setup they give you, is that, the bad guys have a mutastone, the good guys have a mutastone, and there's
Mhm.
Krys-Mu, and they basically henshin, they transform to fight each other for the 3 minutes or so
Right.
that they actually get. And we've reviewed, and we'll talk a little about how the turtles change appearance. It's kind of weird because, as you can see in this image, they do take on the features of an adult man,
Mhm.
which is odd. And I don't know if I'll ever get used to that.
I don't think I will either, but it's like
But
and with the and when they mutate, it's like their really cool bandana turns into the Wolverine mask almost, and it's like
it does. It does.
ah.
It's very Wolverine mask. I'm a big fan of no pupils. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
We got-
100%.
we got the no pupil seal of excellence. I'm a
Right.
fan. But yeah, them having like Tom Brady's chin,
Right.
a little weird for me, given the fact that the turtles roughly have no chins, and that's
Right.
just kind of how it is. They have
That's
beaks.
how
You know
it
what I'm
is.
saying?
Yeah,
You got a beak, you don't
exactly.
need a chin.
Yeah.
That's how it is. So that's basically that's kind of the so basically, and this thing is like the manga animated, man. These could just be issues of the manga, and with that comes all of the weirdness,
Now
because this thing is full
it
of
is.
classic anime style humor that, spoiler alert, I'm a big fan of.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I am
Kick
totally
ass.
a fan
See
of all
right
this.
there. And also,
Yeah.
they curse. That's an important thing.
That's
They just curse here. Now, I don't. Once again, I don't know if that's the translation.
mhm,
If maybe like it translates to us as kick ass,
mhm.
which is something your parents probably wouldn't want you to say when you're watching Turtles. But
Right.
like maybe in their language, it's kind of like like the whole bloody thing in England, where like that's more like
Precisely.
the F word.
Right.
Maybe it's like here, if you say I'm bloody excellent, you're like,
Uh,
no
it-
one
it-
here cares.
Yeah,
right?
no one cares. Right.
But over there, it's like, oh my god, like if you said it to a teacher, you're done, right? Like,
Right.
go home.
Right.
So
but at the same
maybe
time,
it's a little different.
at the same time, it's still like I mean, it's still like the same point gets across like through what they're saying in Japanese. So I mean, I don't know. I never fully understood it because when we were going through Sentai back in the day, and even Kamen Rider a lot, especially in the 90s and 80s and stuff, there would be a lot of this where there would be like, what would they say, Kisama or something like that, which was like bastard or essentially. And I'm like, whoa, like that's
you get some bastards here.
And that's like not really a big deal here, but at the same time, for like a kids program, like I that would not be on the radar for things I would see being said.
And once again, it all. I mean, cultural norms are literally about what words are commonly said.
Yeah.
So like, if their word like so we hit on the word bastard and go, oh, that's a bad word, right?
Right.
Like kids shouldn't say that word. But if the Japanese word for bastard is a lot more like you're the son of a irreparable or a mother of ill repute, or you are you are a unfaithful son to your family or something like that, then I mean, if your kid said that about somebody, like you're unfaithful to your family, you'd be like, I don't know if you can say that, but he's not gonna be in trouble for cursing.
Yeah.
So that's what I always wondered.
That's okay. That makes sense.
Word, do you know what I mean? Maybe here it translates quicker as bastard, but in their language it means a lot different, and it's not as it's a slight on someone, but it's not like the B word here.
Right.
You know, I just don't know.
No, exactly.
So after this intro, we are treated to the intro song. You know what I'm saying? Go Go Turtles.
Go Go Turtles.
It's a weird song.
It is.
It's got horn. You expect it. Like, it's anime of the time. I'm like, this is a really upbeat song.
It is.
The animation's cool.
Yeah.
Like in the intro, pretty cool. The song to me is not really a gear up kick-ass turtle song.
It's not. It's not. It has a little bit of camp to it in a way where like, and I can't really describe it because some Kamen Rider has it and a lot of Sentai have it, but a lot of the Sentai and for those who don't know, Power Rangers in Japanese, their intro song is usually like really good and gets you ready and stuff.
No, some of the sickest like Japanese metal riffs I've heard like at the beginning of like Sentai and Kamen Rider, where it's kind of like, oh shit, like I'm like, oh damn, this is
like
badass.
Legit, like I had compilation, and I was never one, and we might have talked about this before. I was never one of those people because I knew people that did this, and if you're one of those people, that's fine. It's not a slight to y'all, but I just knew that I just never really got the people that would get compilations of cartoon theme songs. Now you and I can geek out on some theme songs from like, TGIF and stuff like that, and we can still appreciate them. But I never really want to have them in the car constantly. However,
I'm not rolling around. Well, you talking about like cartoons? You talking like rolling around like Rescue Rangers and shit?
Or the Flintstones or whatever, and
that's fine.
Things like that. Yeah, cool. I don't need that. That's cool. We can talk about it, but
keep your hands off the aux if you're going to be dropping that.
If you're going to be dropping that,
saying,
right?
You're good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I was never that person, but I did find myself, to your point, like I was making comp CDs of like all the intros to Kamen Rider and then a bunch of anime. I found like music through that. And some of our patrons might remember some of the stuff that I put in the zine that we used to do. The songs on that were found through anime and stuff. So it's very typical of that culture to have like really good music with really good animation and stuff.
Yeah.
And but the thing here is that I feel like this is the music that's geared a little bit more towards children and like especially things that are trying to sell toys. And I feel like that's where the music
more
kind
like
of loses us a little bit.
I mean even the Red Skies modified 87 animated series intro, which you and I don't like that song nearly as much as the original.
Correct.
Even that song though gears you up more than this song.
Oh, absolutely.
This song is like go go turtles, da 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 da. You're like, okay, like this is just like kind of silly. It's kind of silly.
It is.
But and it lasts. It is like a full 2 minutes. I'm like watching this like they're still going.
They're still going.
And I'm like, and the classic, the English translation of Japanese lyrics where you're like, go stomp on a pizza, dance, everyone's hearts will be full.
Yeah.
What does
Yeah.
this mean? There's been a lot of times like that, but those are kind of funny. Like I actually watched your episode with my daughter,
Oh, okay.
um, because I was like kind of time crunched to like to get that in and whatever
Right.
today when I got off work, and we watched it together, and she was like, "What is this song?" She's like, "Why would you stomp on the ground and then stomp on a pizza?" I'm like, "I don't know why." Like, I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then she looked at me, she's like, "Dad, I want to get into Sailor Moon." And I was like,
Did she
"I
really?
need to talk to your uncle about that." Yeah.
Did
I
she
was like,
really?
I literally said, I'm like, she did. I go, "I need to talk to your Uncle Eric about that." And I
Yeah.
left it right there. So
Yes.
that's a
Okay.
little conversation we'll be having after the show.
After the show. Yes.
So yeah, because I Googled it for a second. I was like, what viewing order for Sailor Moon? And it was
Oh,
like,
good
do
luck.
all of these and also cast a spell. And I'm like,
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I'm not into dark magic. I mean, maybe if I had Dark Moo with me, we'll talk about
Right.
her later. She's great. Um,
Exactly.
so boom. So the song, yeah, gets you a little bit, and then you get some cool stuff. So here we go. We're going into the actual thing. So we open up. Super Turtles in Danger, the debut of the Saint. You know what I'm saying? Here we go. So we open on the humble space shuttle Endeavor in Earth orbit. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get in touch with Mission Control
Yeah.
regarding the apparent disappearance of all stars around the Earth. They're just disappearing. I'm not going to try to like retell jokes here, but let me just say this is where they set in a long running joke where Houston is effectively like, although that's Cape Canaveral, obviously, because the vehicle assembly building. I'm not going to give them much gruff about that. But like it starts this joke where the guy on the ground's like, "Yeah, man, I was at lunch," and your boy's like, "Yeah, but like the stars disappearing." He goes, "Did you forget your glasses, Captain?"
Yeah.
And this joke will go through the whole episode. So they argue about glasses, and this is what NASA does the whole time. So during all this, though, we do see that there's a small device planted on the Endeavor's hull, which is shaped like Krang. Funny enough, and it's beeping steadily. Spoiler alert: this never gets explained.
Yeah, no, never. And I completely forgot about this. Like, I thought that was
Krang. You hear the beeping of it at the end of the episode while they're fighting, and it never gets explained. Unless that device magically pressurizes the space shuttle's cargo hold, which was never made to be pressurized. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. So, turns out, you know what I'm saying? We cut to the Technodrome. You know what I'm saying? Shredder, Krang, People Rocksteady, all in the lair. They're hanging out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is where you start to see, first of all, love the art here.
Oh, yeah.
I do prefer this kind of Shredder. I like the fact that he's got like kind of like a black shadow where his face would be, and you just see the eyes. It lets the eyes be very animated, but you don't have to worry. The thing about animated series Shredder from the original series is like sometimes when you see too much of like the rest of his face behind the mask, I don't know why, it just looks funny. Like it can look odd if it's drawn at certain angles. It looks like it doesn't look right. Whereas here it's like, no, he's just evil, man. He's just got a big ass metal mask. I'm a fan of that. I'm like, that's cool.
They can simultaneously make it look evil, but they can also make it look like really buffoonish. And I'm a huge fan of this.
And of course, because we're dealing with anime, what I would love too is his metal grill over his mouth can super deform to show emotion. In this style of animation, which is great too. So you've got as much emotion as you would have on a normal face out of him. Here, which is once again, you have tropes of the genre, want to take advantage of them, and they do here, which is really great. So Shredder is like upset because apparently Krang has been destroying the stars. Like the stars are going out. All the stars you normally see at night, they're instantaneously disappearing, which is something given the way that physics work.
Yeah.
But they're going out immediately, which I'm sure would concern. Like actual scientists be like,
yeah, oh yeah. Like
why?
Yeah.
Right? What? It's so funny because Shredder and Krang throughout this whole thing are like opposing forces. They're not on the same page. They play it for humor all the time.
They are, but
they just don't know what the other one's doing. Shredder doesn't know what Krang's doing, and Krang doesn't know what Shredder's going to do, and they just run that the whole thing.
Precisely, but I think that to our point that we've made on our reviews of the animated series, that there is definitely like a relation. I'm not saying they're like a couple, but they are, and there's that definite like
they do an odd couple thing. It's an odd couple thing.
Right, and they whenever the Japanese got a hold of this, they totally picked up on that and ran with it, and I love it to death. I'm totally enamored with it.
So Shredder is upset that it's taking so long to make all the stars go away. And because he doesn't fully understand. Like, you get feeling he doesn't fully understand what's going on. He's like, oh, if we turn into old men waiting for this to work, like I'm going to blame you, octopus thing. Oh, by the way, what are we doing?
Right.
And Krang's like, oh, yeah, no, dog, listen. So the deal is this. The stars disappearing, well, that's just like a cool like thing that's happening from this other. It's a side effect of what I'm really trying to do, which is awaken Dark-Mu.
Exactly.
And you are familiar, if you've read the manga and hung out with, you are familiar with Dark-Mu. She's badass. And spoiler alert, she's real badass. When she shows up. But she's currently encapsulated in her own little crystal stone. And Krang's like, I am zapping this Dark-Mu with an actual energy beam. And that's kind of waking her up slowly. And as she wakes up, her power is so strong that that's what's destroying the stars.
Right.
And Shredder's like, well, that's pretty cool. He's like, when do we kill the turtles, though?
Yeah.
And Krang's like, well, I'll tell you when we kill the turtles. It's when Dark-Mu actually wakes up and she destroys Earth. That's when.
Right.
And Shredder's like, cool. So that would kill the turtles.
Yeah.
And Krang's like, oh, exactly. And he's like, but where would we live?
Right.
If it turns out, you know what I mean? Like, where are we gonna live? And Krang's like, oh yeah, no, you're gonna stay at my place in Dimension X, and you see what you see on screen, which is they lose their minds. Bebop, Rocksteady, and Shredder are not about living in Dimension X. I don't blame them.
No,
I don't blame them. They're freaking out, and Shredder's like, I can't have this happen, and Krang's like, but it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Now Shredder's like,
the only way that I'm okay with living in Dimension X is if we get to hang out with the hot rod and teenagers from Dimension X, if you know what I'm saying. So
that's true. Hanging out with neutrinos would be awesome, but they won't.
No. So
they won't.
They won't.
But once again, like the screenshot is a great example of like showing like just like the emotion they can throw in the face of these characters, and they do it a lot.
So good,
and it's really cool. So they lose their mind, but however, the plan does carry on. As much as Shredder like goes like, you octopus, I'll cook you in a soup or whatever he says all this crazy shit, and it doesn't matter though because like it's still gonna happen.
Yeah.
So we cut to channel 6 where April is covering the sudden disappearance of all the stars.
I love this.
It's great. So she winds up cutting. She's like, well, and here's some footage we have, or some audio we have from NASA and the Space Shuttle Endeavour currently in orbit around Earth. And it cuts, and they're still like arguing about the glasses joke.
About the glasses.
Like, the guy at Houston's like, I found your spare glasses in your bedroom. And the guy's like, I found your glasses in your bedroom. And the guy's like, those are my spares. I brought mine up here. The stars, and they can't get with it. And she's like, okay. Well, as they're watching this is beautiful. As the Turtles are watching this, like it ends, and then April just walks into the lair like instantly.
Oh, yeah.
They turn around and they're like, did you walk through a time portal?
Right.
And she's like, no, that's pre-recorded.
Which, can you blame them? Because that's like, they live in a world where like Shredder just appears. Like, the TVA just shows up.
No, it's true. It's true. But I mean, Donnie at least should be like, oh, I know about things.
He should.
But whatever. And Splinter's apparently napping in the background. So he's just taking a little cat nap. You know what I'm saying? Nap should either be 5 minutes or 5 hours. You know what I'm saying? It should be. No, it's not true. They should either be 30 minutes or 3 hours, and he's doing a 30-minute one.
Yeah.
So, when she explains that showing something on the news that's not live is a thing,
right?
The Turtles and April start discussing the whole star situation because that's a thing.
Yeah.
Krys-Mu winds up showing up, and she informs everyone that only Dark-Mu is capable of destroying stars. And that someone must be trying to wake her up.
Right.
So our heroes automatically start to suspect Shredder and the gang because they're like, well, who else would do this dumb shit?
Oh, of course.
And it turns out, So they're kind of like, like maybe. And then they hear a huge rumble come from above them in the sewer, and they're like, well, that sounds like something to go look at. Splinter's like, oh, I just woke up. Yeah, go do that.
Yeah.
So back on them streets, turns out that massive rumble, that was Shredder, Bebop, and Rocksteady landing in the actual street.
Right.
Like they actually leave impressions in the road surface. That's how hard their dick hit the dirt. They went all the way down. But they're fine.
Right. They're okay.
So while they're like, oh no, and they're like trying to wake up, Crane calls in. And Crane's like, hey man, why still haven't mutated into the Devil Shredder, is what he says.
That's what he says.
What? You still haven't muted into the Devil Shredder? And of course Shredder's like, dude, he makes an allusion here. And I don't know what it means, but he says something like, yeah, well, we've been trying, but the last time we were thrown back. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, it's almost like we've been trying, but hasn't worked or something.
Huh.
It's weird. They never touch on it again.
Right.
That's his reply. He's like, well, we've been trying. And it's like, what? They use land. So the Turtles have come out. You know what I'm saying? Because as they're still laying there talking shit to Krang.
Yeah.
Yep, the whole gang. Splinter, Turtles, April, Krys-Mu, they all come floating out of a sewer grate. Basically, Bebop and Rocksteady are really mad because they got caught with their technological pants down.
They did.
Like, they should tell they boss, they saw us laying around like they really care. I think that's hilarious to me.
Oh yeah.
And it's great. So of course they pass some insults back and forth. Shredder and his goons go ahead and have a real big, sensual, and frankly, kind of emotional and kind of solid group mutation. They all mutate. Oh god!
In the alley.
Was it good for you? And sure enough, in the alley, that's the world we're living in. It's New York City. It's nitty gritty over here. And whoop, I can feel the overflowing power in me.
And if you're gonna have a group mutation, you want to end it, or at least you want to experience having the overflowing power in you. That's the key to a good, successful group mutation.
Agreed. Now, of course, they've committed a slight faux pas, because when you group mutate first,
right,
you're both on clocks.
That's true.
You're holding yourself to a disadvantage.
Absolutely.
Now, this gets shown in the next episode a little more distinctly.
Right.
But here, they still do it, but they just don't acknowledge it this time. But when they did it, I was like, well, that kind of sucks, because you group mutate and then you talk shit and the Turtles wait for a minute and they're like, cool.
Right.
They're just adding. It's kind of like in hockey when another penalty gets added on from another team, goes on another penalty from a team before. And you're like, well, that's weird, because you're going to have a 2-minute power play, but then we're going to be 5-on-3 for 30 seconds. That's really good. And that's basically what happened. So they all group mutate, right?
I think to your point, I would have enjoyed seeing them actually part of the gimmick would be them trying to not group mutate. And the Turtles are trying, and they're trying to aggravate one another to get them to actually do it.
Yes.
That would have been really neat. But
the only way that group mutating first works is if you use it in a surprise way to knock their asses out almost. I've got you to 50% health.
Right.
And now you have to mutate and whatever. But anyway, it kind of falls in line that Shredder, and this happened in the comics too, where Shredder and Bebop and Rocksteady mutate early, and then they demutate early. And that's kind of what you get. So they do it, and the Turtles kind of actually spend all their time delaying, and they're like, you look stupid doing that. They're like, they make a lot of comments about how awkward they look. They're like, they really ought to work on that more, because that looks awkward.
Oh yeah.
Then they mutate, of course. So the Turtles have their own group mutation. It's all out in the open. They just watch someone else group mutate. But once again, we talked about, you want to group mutate last.
Yes.
You never want to be the first one to group mutate.
No.
So the two groups launch at each other. Splinter sees this happen, and he looks at Krys-Mu, and he's like, this is a distraction. And while we're doing this, they're still awakening Dark Mu, and that can't be happening. So we need to go fight this. Me and you go come out and fight this. And Krys-Mu's like, I'm down. So Shredder and so Splinter and Krys-Mu hop down to the sewer, and April runs off to report everything she just saw on the news.
Yep.
which I will 100% say, we talked about this actually pretty recently. That's my April.
Yeah.
If we're gonna go, she's the reporter.
Right.
If we're gonna go there, if we're not going adventures where she starts as a reporter but changes careers, if we're not gonna go Mirage where she's a scientist and she's just trying to find her way in the world, if we're not gonna do all these different, if we're gonna do Yellow Jumpsuit,
yeah,
then she needs to be ruthless about the news.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
my opinion.
I agree.
And that's what she does. She goes,
she's totally that here.
awesome. Yeah. I got a bunch of this on film, and I'm gonna go make more money. And she leaves.
Right.
What she should do.
Exactly.
Love it. So she shows up. So she leaves. Krang is back in the Technodrome, and he is just complaining to himself that waking up Dark-Mu is taking way too long. Shredder calls in, and he's like, "Yo, can I get some foot soldiers? Because that'd be awesome."
Oh yeah.
And Krang comes back with, "You stupid! The foot soldiers are having a day off. They went on vacation."
Went on vacation. How you gonna be mad when they're on vacation?
How are you gonna be mad on vacation?
Exactly.
And he's like, and by the way, I equipped y'all with power switches for this very reason.
Right.
And Shredder's like, you could have told me about the power switch beforehand. And Krang's like, it's on your body, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
About how you don't know.
Right.
What the power switch is.
Yeah.
And then Krang calls him the R word.
He calls him the R word.
And I was like, that's the 90s.
That is totally the 90s.
That's the 90s. So, when the R word flowed like water.
Yep.
So Shredder goes in and activates that power switch.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm not an R word. I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And just him activating his power up knocks the turtles on their asses. They are like wrecked. So you see this happening. This is I guess he does, the super atrocious dragon crew attack.
I lost
that was later.
Did I jump ahead? Okay, there you go.
No, you're good. You're good. So he does his power up attack, and Turtles are like, oh my God, we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Splinter and Krys-Mu just bust into the Technodrome, which is currently underwater. I don't understand. Anyways,
I don't get it.
They go in. It's in the bottom of the ocean, but it's fine. So they go in there, and they're like, you can't awaken Dark-Mu because, like, no. And Krang's like making a lot of jokes. Once again, Krang's kind of insane, and I actually really like it. He says a lot of things that like are really not I wouldn't say inappropriate in like in a bad way, but they don't like seem like he has the full gravity of the situation. And I'm a fan of that. I'm a big fan
exactly.
Of that.
Oh yeah.
He's like they play him for like a mad scientist, which I really appreciate. Mm-hmm. So right here on screen, he says like, listen, you can't just barge into someone's home. Like that's like the random shit he says. Like, when Splinter's like, you shall not just, awaken Dark-Mu. He's like, you can't just walk in my house. Man.
Yeah, just don't come in someone's house.
Like what? Like that's like he basically says, yeah, I call the cops, right?
Yeah.
He later on then says right here, you have on screen, damn, I shouldn't have allowed the foot soldiers to take a vacation. Which, don't worry, we get an update on that.
We do, thankfully.
So this leads to some sweet and I believe unseen. I can't remember when I've seen this. Right. Splinter on Krang fight.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this.
It may have happened in the animated series in season 1 or something, like where they tussle for a minute or something. But I don't recall ever seeing them fight.
I don't
hand-to-hand,
either. No, the thing that this reminds me of is early, like probably season 1, I think, where the Turtles are fighting Krang on the streets, and Splinter takes to Shredder in the sheets. You know what I'm saying? And like I
remember that. That was the retro mutagen gun. I think episode was where they fought each other, like for the first time, really properly. Yeah,
right, and that's very indicative of what's going on here. At least the vibe that I got was those kind of vibes. I don't think that
it's
Splinter
cool
and Krang have actually fought, but this I enjoyed this a lot.
I like this because Krang's got the size on him. He's also slower, but like Splinter's, he's just a person.
He's just a rat face.
You know what I'm saying?
He's a rat face dude guy. That's all he is.
He's a rat face dude guy with a burnt cheetah.
Yep.
And that's a big android man. So he's a cool matchup, and you see him fighting. I'm like, that's awesome.
It is.
So the two tangle, and we see that now Dark Moo has like opened her eyes, and I
Right.
love the art for her opening her eyes. Like it's just
Here.
these like two like white slits kind of open up. Yes.
Yeah.
And they're like
Yeah.
purple at first, and when they open up wider, they get like white, and I'm like, that's awesome.
Mhm.
And of course, you know, Krys-Mu's like, this is the actual worst day ever.
Right.
Because I hate this. And all across the world we get like an update.
Right.
And by the way, like in this image, like
Oh, I'm
Krys-Mu's
sorry.
stunning here.
Oh yeah,
The
she's
art
great.
is so good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So good. And the expressiveness is perfect. And in the comics they do a good job of this as well, but like
Mhm.
in motion it's just so much better.
It's so good.
So we get some updates around
Yeah.
the world. You know what I'm saying? Like we see that the Eiffel Tower collapses.
We do.
We see that in China it's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like a big
Yep.
picture of Chairman Mao just falls down.
Mhm.
We see in the Florida wetlands that the punk frogs are just chilling in an inner tube.
The punk frogs
Kind
are
of on,
just
no, I'm sorry, the
chilling
lily pad. Excuse
on
me.
a lily pad.
They're on a lily pad.
And,
How big is that lily pad? Because when they mutated, they got to be. They're not like they're smaller than the turtles for sure. But
Yeah.
There's not like a lily pad I think in existence that could hold a medium-sized dog, which is roughly maybe that's how big they are at like smallest.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah. That's
maybe that's just an artificial lily pad they made.
It could
But
be.
anyway,
or
they're just having drinks.
Or it's just they threw them in. Like, see, I don't know, because like if you think about it, like maybe they're just actual regular frogs that are just chilling on a lily pad, but then they'd have to have little chairs and little drinks and tables, and that doesn't make any sense. And why would they be in the little clothes? Like so that doesn't make any sense. So they have to be mutated.
Oh no, it's obviously well, it's obviously intended to be the punk frogs because it's really hard to see. There's a line where one of them said, I think Napoleon gets picked up, and they say like, Napoleon, where are you going? Like it's obvious that like that
oh,
it's
okay.
intended.
I must have missed that because but I guess what the point I'm making is the
It
size
flashes
of them.
on for like a second.
Like I know it's the punk frogs. Like I know that. I guess what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
are these like a reference to the punk frogs? That's like here are these frogs that are dressed like them, or is this them?
No.
But they're just on a bigger lily pad, and that's the one that makes the most sense.
I think it's the bigger lily pad. I mean,
Yeah,
like
that's the one
I
that's-
had no doubt that it was them. And if you watch it, it might not even be Napoleon's name, but it does flash a name.
Well,
And
I
they're
know
talking
that
like get in there.
I think it's Rasputin is the one with the yellow shirt, and the purple shirt is Genghis. I don't. I can't think right now.
yeah.
But yeah,
Sure.
But no, I had no doubt that it was them. But I guess I just didn't know if it was how far they were going to go with that, or if it was just like a joke. But I mean, obviously it's a joke. But
It was a super cool homage. I was hoping they would show
totally.
like maybe the water spout that goes by them would like pick them up and throw them into New York, and I'd be like, that'd be badass.
Oh,
but,
that'd
like,
have been
that didn't
amazing.
happen.
Oh, I love that.
I love that. I love that cameo. But yeah, they're just chilling in the water, and then a water spout goes right through the wetlands, and they're like, oh, like whatever, Genghis or whoever it is, like, oh, where'd you go? And then we see Miami Beach.
Yeah.
And you get the promise of the premise with this joke they've been setting up. And yeah, you see the Foot Clan on vacation.
Yeah.
They're all wearing Hawaiian shirts. They are not saying clang because they are like grilling up some awesome food. One's got a camera. He's filming the other guy's dancing. It's like a whole 9 yards. They got coolers.
Yeah.
They're like, this is our actual vacation.
Oh, yeah.
And
This is
then a
amazing.
water spout comes by
Mm-hmm.
and scoops them all up.
And I love this, which I don't know if this is a reference. This was originally a reference to something else too, but the whole blasting off again is definitely taken from Pokemon. But this 96 was Pokemon out by then.
Oh, Pokemon was around. Yeah.
It might have. I don't know if the anime was though. I think the game came out in 96, the first one, but the anime, which would have had Team Rocket with Jesse and James and Meowth, that and them saying blasting off again when they get like thrown off or like whatever. But I think that in and of itself was at least with our generation, and the one like right after us, was popularized by Pokemon. I'm curious if that was an actual reference to something prior, just like this might be. You know what I'm saying? Because I think this would have already been done before Pokemon even came out. So that makes me feel like there's something in Japan like that. This is an homage to that they constantly go back to in
Pokemon
different anime.
franchise was created in 95. Pocket Monsters Red and Green came out in 96. Um and yeah, so it may be, but yeah, the anime series does start in 97. So yeah, we're a little early for that.
Right. But
anyway, yeah, they blast off again. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, you don't got to know why. You know what
You
I'm
don't.
saying? Like, maybe that's for you to find out why.
right.
However, a massive tidal wave is seen hitting New York, and the Turtles see it coming before Shredder and the boys do.
Right.
So they go, "Oh my!" It's a classic thing where you look over someone's shoulder.
Yeah.
It is such a fun trick to do to somebody. Have you ever done this in life, in real life, Eric? Have you ever been talking to somebody and just looked over their shoulder and gone like, and started backing up?
Oh,
Dude, it is the meanest shit to do to somebody, because if you play it right, you have to be, you can't like freak out, because
right.
I think, 'cause to me, I've done it to people a lot of times, because Redneck Jesus, who I used to work with my dad, Robbie, he did that to me one time,
Yeah.
and it sold me because he did it perfectly.
Yeah.
If anyone can, really fast, anyone can get scared.
Yeah.
If you go, "Oh shit," like that, like
Yeah.
anyone, like that's just gonna jump scare
that's cheap.
somebody. You
Yeah,
can just go,
exactly.
you can just be talking and just scream, and someone will
Mhm.
jump. Because like, why would you do that?
Right.
It's all about the subtlety of the, like, look over their shoulder, make eye contact with something, and just look at it for a second,
Right.
and then widen your eyes,
Mhm.
and then start to like just back up, like just start like backing up,
Yeah.
and people will like flip around, and it's like the funniest shit.
I think that the closest thing that I think I've done unintentionally is that whenever pre-COVID, whenever you would actually come to my house, we'd be outside on the veranda. Sorry, I just like
of course.
sounded highfalutin like that.
We would be on the veranda. It's correct.
We would be. So we'd be out there, and I would be looking over your shoulder at different things, and and you would be like, "What?" Like, you get freaked out by it because you keep seeing me look, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I just saw something." So that's similar, but yeah, I see your point. Like, that is pretty funny, and that is what the Turtles do here, and to great comedic effect,
They do.
especially in
They
animation.
do. They look over their shoulder and they're like, "Oh shit!" And Shredder says like, "Don't let their mind games throw you off. You know,
Right.
like, let's keep charging them." And the Turtles are like, "No, we'll just jump up." And
Right.
they just jump up and grab on a building.
Mhm.
And yeah, no, that tidal wave just hits, and it
Yeah.
sweeps Shredder and his boys just down into the city. Splinter and Krang also get washed out to sea, which is kind of weird. And you don't really understand how that works. Although your boy does drop, your boy Krang does say, not only are you trespassing in here,
He's still upset.
but you also forgot to shut the door.
I love it.
To which Splinter says, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the funniest part of that joke to me.
Oh,
It's the fact that Splinter's like, Splinter's like, "Oh yeah, sorry." Like
So-
that's
it's so
fucking
good because
That's
you
really
have
good.
you have Krang, who's like disassociated himself from like all reality.
Yes.
And he is just
Oh,
like
yeah.
going on about being like being a civilized human. Like, you let this, he's almost talking to Splinter as if Splinter is a pet. That because like sometimes I'll come
Yeah.
in the house and I'll be like, I'll see my cat and I'm like, "Thanks, I don't need any help." Like, when I've got groceries or something, like I'll talk, like they could actually
Yeah.
do that. I think Krang is doing that, which is kind of neat because it shows that Krang doesn't even consider them to be a threat. So I kind of like that element of it. However,
Yeah.
the fact that he keeps selling it, and then you get Splinter to go from jumping up and get ready
Yes.
to die, which is what he says, to
Yes.
apologizing
Yes.
for not shutting the door because
See,
yeah,
and that's good comedic timing,
it
because it's
absolutely
in
is.
such a crazy scene,
Yeah,
and it happens, and he's like, "Oh, sorry." You're like, "That's hilarious."
it is.
So yeah, so they get washed out to sea somehow. I don't know what happens. I guess because literally, if you take Krang at his word, Splinter didn't shut the door to the Technodrome when he went into it, and that let the water in. I don't know. It's besides the point.
Yeah,
So eventually, the Turtles, Splinter, and Krys-Mu are reunited and all hang off of a big pizza sign. for dear life. I felt like for a minute that the Splinters, probably the Turtles were cool on their like little pizza sign, their little billboard, until they saw Splinter, and then I was really expecting one of them to say something like a rat on a sinking ship or some joke like that, because I feel like they were setting that up and they just never did.
Right.
Um,
all they go with is
very.
Yeah, all they go with is thank God I learned an ancient swimming style. So, whatever that is.
He did. He still got his burnt Cheeto, so that's very important.
That is.
They all wind up on the same pizza sign. And then April rolls up in the Channel 6 news helicopter. And she's like, hey, guys, so I found Shredder, Bebop, and Rocksteady and stuff. And, of course, like, Leo does this whole, like, April, you're the best. Channel 6 News is the best thing ever. And you're so great and all this stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, well, we don't need a big network of stuff to tell us because they're just over there. Yeah. And she points, like, to what is just about 100 feet away. Probably, like, maybe 100 or 200 feet. To the top of the Empire, or the top of the Statue of Liberty, which has Bebop, Rocksteady, and Shredder on it. They just washed up there. It's right there. And that was actually also super funny and absolutely played for comedic effect.
Oh, totally.
Unlike the animated series, where I feel like the original animated series would just do that, but it wasn't a joke.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It would be like, guys, I've tracked down Shredder. I know right where he is. They're like, whoa, April, thanks a lot. And it's like 2 feet away.
Right, exactly.
And it would not be a joke. Here, it's absolutely a joke. She's like, yeah, no, just to go over there.
Right.
And it zooms out so you see the scale, and I like that.
Yeah.
So, okay. Let me see.
Real quick, one thing that I wanted to mention, and with the water rising up into New York, and some people were saying in the comments too that like this is like Archie Future Earth, like the Future Shark trilogy stuff.
It is,
and it's like I got kind of excited thinking about that because they already showed us like when you set the precedent with like okay, foot soldiers on vacation, and then you show that to me as well as the punk frogs. I have I'm here for the whole thing. Like I'm like anything can happen, and that's I absolutely adore about this. Although now that we've watched it, we know certain things happen and certain things don't. But nevertheless, going through it, that initial like thrill is like, oh, this does look like Future Shark Trilogy Archie Adventure stuff. And I'm like, if they touch on any of that, like is Armagon going to show up, or is Ninjara going to pop out of somewhere? Like, I'm here for all of this. Take my money. You know what I'm saying? And so,
for sure.
It's fantastic.
No, I like that. I also like the fact, like, you and I are always big fans of like with disaster things, like disaster films or cartoons. We're always like, that's millions dead.
I love how they
New York being that, if the water level is so high that the only like the forehead and crown of the Statue of Liberty is visible, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people. Like, it's an untold tragedy.
It is,
but it's fine because we're gonna joke about stuff.
Of course.
So Bebop and Rocksteady are kind of immobilized because they drink too much water.
Yeah.
And Shredder's like, you're worthless, and that's a thing. So the Technodrome busts out. Bloop, comes out of the water, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And bumps into the Statue of Liberty, which sends Shredder flying off into the water. Everybody laughs. It's a good time. Krang emerges and holds Dark-Mu above his head in victory because she is waking up.
Right.
And then she wakes up. And she looks awesome.
Oh, yeah.
She, like, just everything about her is great. Yep. This big hype up. She comes out, and she looks just as cool as she did in the comics. And she comes out, and she's like, and her voice actor is great, and she's just like, it's exactly the villain you want. And this is one thing I want to talk about just a tad, is that Dark-Mu's the actual villain, right?
Yeah. Oh, she's
the best thing about this.
Her waking up is, in case we skipped over this, is what's caused all of this.
All of this,
yeah, everything that's happened, like the floods and the water spouts and just all the stars and everything crumbling, the earth shattering and all that stuff. This is all because this one cute devil woman woke up and wants her to have her morning coffee. As a result of that, millions dead, property damage, all kinds of stuff, irreparable.
I'm about that dome inside a dome thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've got like Shredder and Krang are just like, they don't know what the other one's doing. Krang's insane.
Yes.
And Shredder's just like laughable, but honestly in a good way because they lean into it.
Yeah,
They lean into the
absolutely.
laughability with him, which
Mhm.
is awesome. Which is kind of how the animated series kind of should have been. I mean, like lean into it, man. But make it funny.
Yeah,
And he's funny. Everybody's stupid, but they all awaken Dark-Mu, and she is actually the real deal. And
yeah,
she's like, I'm going to destroy everything. And you're like, well, that's pretty badass.
yeah.
Um, so Dark-Mu powers up. And Krang, Krang doesn't know what to expect. He's a bit of the dog that finally caught the car
Right.
because he's like, "Do it, kill him!" But he doesn't know what the hell she's gonna do. He's like, "Just do it!" And so everyone's a little let down
Right.
when Dark-Mu, instead of like I don't know, just like raising her arms and the entire world just incinerating,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
with Krang has to be like, I'm about to die. Like if she destroys the Earth as rapidly as she destroyed those galaxies when she was waking up,
Right.
then this is gonna suck. But no,
Yeah.
everyone's a little brought down when she basically creates what is effectively like a basketball sized. I mean, to her it's really big, but to us it's
Right.
about basketball sized. A dark sphere of energy and just yeets it right at Shredder in the water. Um,
Uh,
Absolutely hits him square in the chest.
do you mean Shredder or Splinter?
You're way too far ahead.
I'm way too far ahead. Oh, okay, sorry.
You
I
are
didn't.
way too far ahead.
Sorry. Here
You
we
are
go.
like 100 years ahead. We haven't even gotten to the DDS yet, bro.
Dang.
Like, so I don't know where your image of DDS is, but you need to go back to that.
All
You
right.
aren't even
All
there
right.
yet.
All right.
So your boy, so wait, let me reset. So everyone's a little brought down because Krys-Mu or Dark-Mu is supposed to bring it into the world, but instead she decides to lob a basketball-sized sphere
Mhm.
of dark energy right at your boy Shredder's chest.
Right.
Shredder just pushes him under the water. He's like, "But I'm done."
Mhm.
Bebop and Rocksteady immediately start eulogizing him, like we lost a good man. Like they're like he's dead as shit. Like
Right.
because I mean it's Dark-Mu. Like they're
Mhm.
like he's dead. But and I gotta admit the art on this is beautiful. All of a sudden, this huge hand, like clawed hand, comes out of the water for a second, and then
Right.
like Shredder comes out,
Mhm.
and what emerges, y'all, is Dark Devil Shredder. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yep. Things have
Love
become
this
hectic
shot
here.
of it. Love that shot of it caught in April's camera lens. That's just
Mhm.
so awesome.
Oh
It's such
yeah.
a great way to present that. The first time you see Dark Devil Shredder is like literally like in that camera lens. I just love it.
Oh yeah. So
Um,
good.
he is kaiju size. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we got here. You know,
Yeah.
toe to toe with Godzilla. It's happening.
Like
He's gigantic.
he towers over the Technodrome.
Oh
So
yes, the
in
Technodrome
water.
is about a basketball size thing to him in
Right,
water.
which this doesn't really
Yeah,
make any sense
like
because the Technodrome, unless the Technodrome is swimming or floating, I guess it's floating because everything
it's
around it
floating.
is underwater. So Shredder probably isn't swimming, so his feet are probably on street level, but he's like way taller than like the buildings there at this size, and he kind of reminds me of what was it? Transformers. I think it's Robots in Disguise that has Megatron as the dragon, like the purple dragon and stuff. And it kind of is
Okay.
reminiscent of that to me. And except
Okay.
like kaiju size, like you were saying. And yeah, Dark Devil Shredder
Yeah,
looks pretty badass. So
Dark Devil Shredder. You didn't think it could get any darker. You didn't
no,
think the devil could come
nope,
for you more.
none
There
more
he is.
darker.
None more darker. He's ready to go.
Yeah,
Now, Shredder's main attack is comprised effectively of shooting large spheres of dark matter at people.
right.
He starts off by shooting one directly at Splinter.
There we
This is
go.
where you were before.
Yeah, apologize.
And Splinter, old dad just like rebounds off the old dad's like, this is nothing. And
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, Splinter, that should kill your face. And Splinter's
Oh
like, nah.
yeah,
And he
totally.
just uses the energy. I love this. This is so anime. He uses the momentum of like the ball coming in to whip around it and somehow like, equal and opposite reaction kind of thing, go
Right.
flying forward.
Yeah.
Like it's just this alley-oop situation. Launch angle, mile per hour off the bat. It's out of here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
He goes up and goes all the way up to the Channel 6 newscopter, no problem. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
No
saying?
problem.
He's like, that's what I think about your dumb basketball thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that's crazy. The Turtles are already up there because they jumped up there.
Oh yeah.
Krys-Mu's up there. Everybody's hanging out. And April kind of demands that the turtles like do something because like
Right.
he will just destroy everything, and that's
Yeah.
obviously this is Krys-Mu's whole plan is
Mhm.
that you know I want to use two different D words. Dark Devil Shredder will because I want to say Devil something Shredder for
Right.
some reason. To me, that
Some
sounds
reason.
better.
It
Yeah, Devil D Shredder is what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he the plan is like because he's just gonna clobber the earth because he's so big. Um, so you are spoiling the lead on this damn. You back up,
My bad. My
back
bad.
up.
My bad.
All right,
Sorry.
so
Sorry.
back up. So effectively, April's like, you gotta do something, and the turtles are like, I guess, man. So they kind of they decide they're like they're pretty smart. They're like, well, we're so small, we're gonna annoy him. So they jump down. Donnie, it's really kind of shown, but Donnie jumps down on this building,
Mhm.
and he's like up against the window, and he
Right.
turns around, and Bebop and Rocksteady are riding on top of Shredder's like head, like he's like a
Yeah.
kind of a crown of horns. They're on top of that. They're like, look, boss, there's a turtle, and he's on the edge of this building, and he's like, man, I'm probably so small you can't even hit me though. And Shredder's like, I'll challenge that assumption. So he basically like, how you can effectively what he does. I mean, he just like
Right.
shoots that. He makes a ball of this sphere of energy, this dark sphere of energy. The animation's great.
Oh yeah.
He knocks a hole in this building that is like it looks awesome. It has the flashing imagery. It looks great.
Mhm.
Misses Donnie though.
Yeah.
Because Donnie hops onto a copter and he's like, bye, and goes away.
Right.
And then this was a bit anticlimactic. But effectively what happens is like the building he decided to that Donnie jumped on.
Right.
This building apparently is a lot taller than
Everything else.
Dark Devil Shredder.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a lot taller than a lot of things. And it falls on Dark Devil Shredder, and Dark Devil Shredder gets knocked out.
He's out. Yeah.
It's a haymaker. He's out. Krang has a bit of a moment to say like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Like the building knocked you out, but like
Yeah.
that's fine
That was it.
because it
Yeah.
does.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there is a huge like whirlpool caused by Shredder just like falling down and like sinking below the surface. That
Right.
sucks the Technodrome down there with him. Krang's really mad.
Yeah.
And then thinking they've won, the turtles start to celebrate a little bit.
Right.
Then badass Dark Mew rolls up and she's like, you're garbage.
Mhm.
And since you stopped your boy Dark Devil Shredder, because like whatever, that was just the one thing. I'm gonna go to space and destroy Earth from orbit.
Right.
And the turtles are like, that's a move we can't do because you going to
Mhm.
space. That's crazy. And she flies up there. She's like, well, you catch me if you can. And she goes
Right.
up there.
Now,
That's when like Splinter
yeah, well, I wanted to say the turtles have been mutated for a while. So like, they've had this whole thing with Shredder getting like
seems like a lot longer than 3 minutes, doesn't it?
yeah. So like I don't understand how that's applicable here, but nevertheless, I mean they're still in their mutated forms, so but
I think the fact
yeah.
that they kept cutting back and forth to like Shredder or to Krang and Splinter
Mhm.
and all this other stuff, and then like all the effects of what was happening, like the whole Foot Ninjas joke and the Punk Frogs cameo. I think that distracted from the timeline, but I think you are supposed to believe that this is all in 3 minutes because it's really fast, apparently.
Yeah.
But I agree, it's been a hot minute.
Like you could play one general like run of the mill song in the amount of time that this all takes place, which is wild.
Like I could tell you that like literally like we do the 5 minutes between the pregame show and the main show.
Yeah.
That 5 minutes is just long enough for me to go like barely pee, fill up a glass of tea, and get in here.
Right.
That's 5 minutes. So I can't imagine 3 minutes. Like I bet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Splinter, you're right. They have been mutated now for a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
Splinter though reminds them that if they can combine their hearts and souls,
right,
and be brave, that they can turn into the Saint.
Right.
And they're like, oh, turn into the Saint, you say. And he's like, yeah, no, I do say. Do it. And they do it. They combine and they turn into the Saint. And the Saint, if you're not familiar, This happened in the manga as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Zords come together. Okay, that's basically
Essentially,
what it is.
yeah.
Like the four turtles are magically transported into a command center in the head of the thing. It's Power Rangers, and they're in there, and they're doing the thing. So they do that, and then they fly up to space. Now, it turns out that I forgot. Good image. Shredder tells them they have 100 seconds left,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
that does challenge your that kind of makes you point out the timeline. You're like, wait, you got a
Right.
minute and 40 seconds left?
Yeah.
Like,
And what
okay,
is this
so
thing
yeah,
that Splinter's holding? Like, is that like a snow globe? Like, is that a like what is this?
yeah,
Is
I
it
don't know.
I can't tell. It's
It's
basically
so
just like
weird.
a clear bubble
It's a snow globe. It's a clear
that
bubble snow
has
globe.
like the sand timer, and it also says
Yeah,
100 sec
something.
on it. Weird.
It does.
Weird. Anyway,
This is what it is.
I love it though.
I mean, this is the guy that has mothballs that can change the world.
That's
And
true.
he goes, mothballs.
Mothballs.
Like, I mean, you know, he's
forgot
got
about
that.
that.
Just in a box under his bed. I mean,
Just
so
in a
he's got
box.
this kind of stuff all day.
Oh, of course. What was I thinking?
Yes, silly man.
Yeah.
So Splinter busts out 100 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Turtles like, oh shit. So it turns out that Dark moves actually really fast, and she flies up to orbit in no time. And then the Saint also flies up, and they're in hot pursuit. And this knocks. This basically causes the space shuttle Endeavor, to go anthropomorphic as it attempts to scurry out of the way of the impact of Dark Moon and the Saint.
Right.
And let me tell you, while Endeavor was the final space shuttle built by NASA, it was essentially built out of spare parts and was made to replace Challenger when it exploded. So I can say that dodging these things and also looking like an animal is way outside of its design parameters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, way outside.
Right.
I mean, the space shuttle had enough delta V to deorbit itself. That's basically all it had. Didn't have enough to play around. Later on, when the space shuttle goes back, the engines are on. It's facing the planet. I'm like, well, that's not how you deorbit yourself. But anyway, so effectively, the thing is that the Endeavor has to get out of the way, and this sets up this huge, like, confrontation. Dark moves badass. She's like, look, I guess I'll kill you first.
Right.
So she starts lobbing some real spheres.
Yeah.
And they're not just spheres, they're more like discs. And like 2 at a time. She's like, you're in the top levels here. 2 at a time, blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah. The Saints' dicks in the dirt. They get hit so many times, and they can't do anything. Like, they could barely shrug them off, like the power from your girl, but like they're like, we're dead, basically. We're dead. And you have something you want to say?
No. Sorry, I was agreeing with you. Yes,
No?
they feel like they're dead.
You sound like you were about to.
Yeah, she's just saying that even your combined powers can't stop me, and they make jokes about how, like, you know, they can't even decide on what pizza toppings they want and all this other stuff. So it's like a simultaneously like dire situation, because one, how can the Saint breathe in space? Like, how does that even work? And two, like, this thing, they could potentially die here, because what if they have 100 seconds? They could lose, like even if they demute, even if they beat her, they still have to get back down to Earth before they run out of air. And so it's
that's my thing. I'm like,
yeah, it's either showing like
suck.
how like heroically altruistic the turtles are as the Saint, which is applicable with the namesake. However, it could also be on the other side of that coin. They're just as insane as Krang and don't have any clue what's going on, or the severity of any situation. Yeah,
I mean, at the end, I think if you're gonna power up into something called the Saint,
right,
you got to be willing to like risk it all for Earth. I mean, this is
fair.
for all the marbles. This is for
all
Earth.
of them.
You know what I'm
all
saying? This isn't like for New York City,
right?
Or like someone's life. I mean, this is like the Earth, yo.
Right.
Like we gotta, we go hard on Earth. You know what I'm saying? And we gotta get there.
Exactly.
Welcome to Earth. So, plot twist. As this is happening, what?
Yeah, I get excited because you said plot
Krys-Mu,
twist. Yeah, Krys-Mu.
a plot twist. Krys-Mu sneaks up behind your girl Dark-Mu and gets a hold of her. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And it's like, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And Dark-Mu's like, and I love it because Krys-Mu's like, with the power of my last energies, I will make you into crystal like me.
Right.
And Dark-Mu's like, you're not gonna do that. And
Mm.
she's like, help, I'm running out of energy. And look at the look on Dark-Mu's face right there. Dark-Mu's like, you can't do this to me.
Right.
Like
Like,
I
what are you
just
doing?
woke up.
Like, yeah, I just woke
I
up.
extinguish stars. I
Right.
extinguish stars when I wake up. What do you do? Have
Yeah.
like have a bagel?
Right.
I kill worlds.
Exactly.
Like, and I love it because it's really funny. Krys-Mu goes like, I'll encase you in the crystals. Oh God, I'm out of energy. And Dark-Mu's like, yeah, of course you are.
yeah.
Idiot. It's really funny.
Goodness.
Like, yeah, and Dark-Mu the whole time is not concerned. She's
No,
just like,
no.
okay, this is awkward. But like, that's fine. So Krys-Mu very quickly like switches tact because she's like, well, I don't have the energy to
Right.
actually do this thing. Like Dark-Mu said, I can't. So she beckons the Saint
Mm-hmm.
to strike her down with Dark-Mu as she's
Right.
holding Dark-Mu. Like, you have to strike us both down, right?
Mhm.
And the Turtles like, what? Very anime style. What are you talking about?
Right.
And yeah, they start going, yeah, we can't do that. They're gonna kill her. That's crazy.
Mhm.
We can't do that. That's a classic thing. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it. This one, Splinter shows up as illustrated
Right.
on the astral plane,
Of
right in front
course.
of the moon. Looking kind of cool. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? He's like, I'll just use this moon because it's like the only backdrop I have. And he
Exactly.
gets that in front of the moon,
Yeah.
and it's basically like an astral plane Zoom call. He's like, can you
Right.
hear me?
Can you unmute?
Turtles, can you?
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, unmute yourself. Yep. No, the login is just your email and the password. It's just the
Right.
email and the password you got in the email. It's not
Star
it's not
6.
rocket science. Yes. So they're like whatever. And so he's like, look, she's a spirit. She can't die. And they're like, good point. He's like, but I'll be honest with you, like, you're not gonna kill her. But like, can y'all even do it though?
Mm-hmm.
Because to do this, y'all have to sync your hearts up. It's not just about
Yeah.
syncing up like who likes pepperoni, who likes jelly bean. It's your hearts though. And Turtles
Mhm.
are like, solid. I mean, that's intense, dude. Dang.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Dang.
they go, dang. And then like, all right. So they do listen to their cowboy dad moment here. They do listen to this. This is when you
That's
listen
true.
to cowboy
That's
voice.
true.
He goes, get your hearts together. And they're like, all right. So yeah, this does the trick. They combine and do their finisher move.
Yeah.
I actually really like the animation here when they strike Dark-Mu and Krys-Mu. The Mega Final Saint Blade.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there is to it. You
That's
know what
all
I'm
there
saying?
is.
The only hit they land on Dark-Mu is like a finisher, which is pretty
Right.
great. And yes, the whole scene is like eclipsed in like a blinding white light, which I really love the effect of.
Mhm.
Reminds me a lot of like the really dramatic, like kind of like deadly explosions. There was an anime that I used to watch all the time called Giant Robo.
Oh yeah.
And there was a movie that I just had on VHS that a friend gave me. I watched like the Giant Robo movie like all the time.
Mhm.
And it did this kind of shit. Like when a nuke went off, it was like, whoa,
Right.
just white. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's my shit. So this happens. And during this blinding flash, we see the seconds count down to 0.
Mhm.
So you're kind of like, well,
Yeah.
that sucks because like Eric alluded to, like
Mhm.
you're still out in like low Earth orbit, my man. Like,
Yeah.
that ain't good. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
I ain't gonna get it.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
Because the Turtles wake up somehow in the cargo bay of the Space Shuttle Endeavor. You know what I'm saying?
Surprisingly
Having been
enough.
rescued by the good captain who apparently had his glasses.
Yeah.
You pick those green guys out of space. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Rendezvous and pull those guys in. That's a thing.
Yeah.
We'll ignore, of course, the fact that the space shuttle's cargo bay could never be pressurized for physics reasons and everything else. Although it is really funny. Did you know that I believe it was Boeing designed a 74-seat passenger capsule for the space shuttle that was supposed to like go in the cargo bay and be fully pressurized itself?
No, I did not know.
But the
this.
cargo bays was closed, and they were like, we'll sell tickets to space and make money. And NASA's like, that sounds pretty good.
Right.
And then, of course, they're like, sometimes it's hard to actually get the space shuttle takeoff.
Right.
So we're not going to do that.
No.
And they didn't do it. Yeah.
Goodness.
But that's the only time you could have been in the cargo bay of
Right.
the space shuttle and been breathing air and not be dead.
Mm.
But the turtles are fine. I guess
Yeah,
they put
they're
some
okay.
duct tape up there. They're good. So out the window, the turtles see the 2 rotating crystals that contain Krys-Mu and Dark-Mu kind of attracted to each other and kind of spinning on their own little axis.
Right.
And they watch them kind of wander off in space, with Leo eulogizing Krys-Mu by saying, although her body was tiny, her bravery was enormous.
Yep.
And that's the end.
True words.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the mayor gonna yell at?
Yeah.
Probably the turtles.
Probably
That's
the
the last
turtles.
joke they make.
Oh yeah.
But it's better to end right here. End on that image. Beautiful.
That's fair. That's fair. And that is
episode 1.
That is episode 1.
That is-
so
That is the
yeah.
saint. The saint appears.
The saint appears. So yeah, I absolutely loved this. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I hate that it was so short, but it did so many things that it was neat to see, kind of the same way with the manga to a similar degree, that like this medium that I love, in the way of like anime and manga and stuff, with this property that I love, that's like this American made like indie comic thing that was like adapted, and then they just marry them together, and then this is still 96. So I would argue that this is still the turtle that they know, like Playmates and Mirage and Kevin and Peter probably already know by this point, but it's still like in that, like, I would still say it's still in the honeymoon phase of them realizing how adaptable the turtles are and how they can go with almost really anything, and that
They really can.
it's very neat to see that, because not everything can do that. And so to think that something came completely whole cloth, like out of like, some grassroots stuff, and then just like hits on all cylinders, like that's fantastic. And here it's indicative of that even more so, taking it out of its native land and into a totally different world that it's inspired by, but not like taken from. I don't know, like, it's just interesting, and I was a huge fan of everything about this, except that I wanted more. Like that's my big takeaway, is that I would have watched a full hour episode of this. Now, the one thing that I will say though is that it's totally different than the first season of the animated series here in America, because that was also very anime influenced and essentially done by a
W
Japanese
looked a lot
company.
more anime than it did eventually, where it looked a lot more kind of American and lumpy and round.
Yeah,
weird.
But that first season looks fantastic and has a vibe, but it's very much more like there's like a funny tone to it, but nowhere near as ludicrous
like
as this.
April's like tearing around on her motorcycle like a badass. Like, I mean, like that first season's like, it does look cool,
right,
for sure.
But yeah, like it's just, this is, and the other thing that's neat about it is how it's see, when I was and Adam in the chat brought this up, and I was going to mention this, but I forgot it. But thank you, Adam. I was thinking before we were going to watch this was just going to be the manga, just like animated, and that I was going to be real disappointed in that, because I already know how that happens.
I was concerned about that too.
Yeah,
I was concerned about that too, but it's not.
It's not.
It's its own thing.
It's like a continuation, which is really neat, and I'm like super here for that. And so